Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, and welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Gwendolyn S. Woody, founder and CEO of the Wellness Loft, LLC. Gwendolyn is a licensed practical nurse, diabetes health and wellness coach, yoga instructor, author, and speaker. Gwen became an LPN to provide her two sons after her divorce. She has survived domestic violence and raised her son successfully in a city that doesn't care about Black youth. She has authored Creates Wholeness and the LPN Business Guide. Her passion for diabetes began when her mother was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, and after having 17 of her family members succumb to diabetes and its comorbidities, Gwendolyn has been awarded the ACHI Magazine Award for Health and Fitness in 2018. She has received mention in the Afro American Newspaper for Women's History Month and has received other notable mentions for her community service and work. Gwen assists persons in building confidence to advocate for their health and to create better health and wellness skills with affordability, sustainability, and obtainability. Gwendolyn engages in community health and wellness projects, speaking engagements, panel sessions, podcasts, and more to reach and teach persons about healthier lifestyles. As a diabetes health and wellness coach, Gwen coaches persons virtually, which meets the needs of her client base. She provides education, motivation, and helps persons form action plans with mind mapping and motivational interviewing. Currently, Gwen is working on projects that serve the need of persons with diabetes. As I said earlier, she is the owner of Wellness Loft, LLC, which houses Wellness Works 8, the Resume Cafe 8, and the LPN Business Guide, Live and Be Well. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Gwendolyn Woody. Hey, Gwendolyn, how are you?
Hey, thank you for having me. How are you?
I am great, and it is my pleasure, and I'm extremely excited about you being on tonight. So, you're welcome.
I'm excited too.
Yes, I know you are, and you know what? We're not going to hold off on anything. Why don't we go ahead and just tell the listeners just a little bit more about who you are besides what I read. Let's talk a little bit about the personal Gwendolyn.
Okay. So the personal Gwendolyn is an empty nester because both of my sons are grown now. I would consider myself an introvert, book lover, Christian, a prayer warrior for my closest friends, outdoors person, and I love the sun. Anything I can do in the sun, I absolutely love.
Wow.
Besides being a daughter and an aunt. Yeah.
All right. Well, you definitely have. I'm sure you're enjoying it now that you're an empty nester and like you said, be able to do the things that you need to do. But it's funny how you said that you were an introvert, and being that you're an introvert, you work every day with people. So your personality, I'm sure, is very different. You don't have that introvertness that most people that don't know you would see, right?
Absolutely. I had did a test, and it did score me as an introvert / extrovert. So when I have to, be in crowds or do speaking engagements and things like that, I can quickly flip to do what I need to do. But I will take a whole Saturday and stay home, just me, myself, and I, and be content. So.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that because you know what? We actually need those days, right? So maybe having that little ability to twist and turn when you need to is probably a good thing because we probably all need that in our lives and in our businesses. So
yeah.
But I guess I'm really glad that you're here on the show, and I'm excited to learn more about your business and how you got started. I know I read about the fact that you were definitely an LPN. and the effects that your personal life that has had with your family. It really stunned me when I read that you have lost 17 family members to diabetes. That is almost unbelievable, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody having to deal with that. So talk to us a little bit about the personal side of how this has affected you and leading you. I'm sure this was part of your inspiration of having to do a business. I want to hear more about this with your family and yourself.
So, and I want to let you know also, as of this winter that just sort of passed, I've lost 3 more family members because of diabetes and comorbidities. So all of this, I have very vivid memories of being a child and always going to a funeral or going to a repast and remembering that these people are like my great uncles, great aunts. But at that time, I was 5, 7, 10 years old, 12 years old, and knew something was wrong, but didn't actually know what was wrong. But I paid very close attention. I paid attention enough to know that my uncle should not eat Bubblicious bubble gum. So that was a while ago.
Right.
Because he was obese, morbidly obese.
Okay.
And then as I grew up, it seemed like people had stopped dying, but these people that had died while I was younger, they were late 30s, early 40s, some of them not even 50 years old. Then as I got older, had my children, people were still dying, but just not like they were when I was younger. As I was going through my divorce, I had finished LPN school and attempted to go back for my RN. During that period, not only was my mom diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, but I had 3 family members die each week for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
So, and they all died from comorbidities of diabetes. And these are not distant relatives. These are blood relatives. My mom's side of the family is huge. Okay. So when my mom was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, I was like, this is not going to happen. Now that I am a nurse and I have better education and I know what I can do, I'm going to learn more. So I took my time and I did. And even with my mom, she's not even considered a pre-diabetic any longer because she's got her hemoglobin A1C down. And she herself, she didn't listen to me in the beginning, but she finally did.
Right.
She knew that it was a problem. And I remember she used to tell me, well, it runs in our family. And a lot of people say, well, my mother had it, my daddy had
right.
it, auntie, uncle had it. And I told my mom, because they had it does not mandate that you have to have it. And that was before I even fully threw myself into helping people with diabetes. So she slowly but surely listened to me. And as she was going to the doctor and the nutritionist, she was like, this is not right. Because, of course, in our communities, we have, I want to call it the trifecta, if you will, diabetes, hypertension, and renal disease. And all 3 go hand in hand. And the fact of it is that because we are adapt to just saying that this runs in our family, and we adapt to the doctors just handing us a prescription and saying, oh, I can do this, I can do that.
Right.
And I'll take this pill or this needle and I'll be fine. But we're lying to ourselves. Because that's, we have to take responsibility for our health. We can't think that because our family members had this, that we have to succumb to it. And I understand in previous years, there wasn't Google, there wasn't as much research, there wasn't as much education. Nonetheless, being a family of color,
Right.
they most definitely, in Baltimore City, nonetheless, right down the street from Johns Hopkins Hospital, they were not going to educate us.
Right. Of
Not
course not.
going to educate us. So when people in my family were like, well, I'm just going to do this, I'm just going to do that. And steadily, one day I sat down and I was like, wow, 17 people, and I thought, like grandchildren, nieces, nephews, like how many generations is that?
Right.
So it really hit me hard. And when I tell people, like they never heard of that, but it hit my family, and it still affects my family because I'm 47. I have cousins that are younger than me, and they have illness. But again, it's a choice. You have to make the choice that you are going to do better, because if you make the choice that you're going to do better, you will do better. You have to also make the choice that, yes, you're going to, if you go on to your practitioner, you have to make them responsible for your care. You're paying them. Your insurance is paying them. Somebody's paying them to take care of you. So they have to be responsible to educate you and give you different options. It's not always about popping a pill. It's not always about taking that insulin, the needle, either.
Right.
Go
ahead, because I have a couple of questions.
No,
go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a lot of factors, but go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I was trying to understand, what is the meaning of comorbidities? What does that mean?
So comorbidities are subsequent disease and illness that are caused by diabetes. Even with a cancer patient, they may have other comorbidities. So in essence, diabetes is a disease of opportunity. I would say socioeconomic opportunity more so. And because we have this extra glucose just hanging out in our veins and our vessels, which our veins and vessels carry blood and nutrients to our entire body, all of our organ systems, we have a problem, because our body knows that glucose was supposed to be made into energy, but we're not using it. So where does it go? It will just sit and lay and cause damage. And diabetes can and will affect your entire body, all organs, all organ systems.
Wow. Okay. I just needed to get a better understanding. And of course, I'm sure some of the listeners that are listening to this tonight, they need to be educated. And that's what we're here to do tonight, is educate people and make them understand the importance of, you're right. It's that constant, I've heard it before. Oh, what runs in the family, and, there's nothing I can do. And like you said, there are options, and that's with everything in our lives. We have options, but it's how you respond to those options. And to hear you say that, you said 3 more people just recently passed away in your family?
Yes, ma'am. And I do want to say also a quick side note that there are several different types of diabetes.
Okay.
So this conversation is more so to diabetes type 2 versus diabetes type 1, because most persons are born with diabetes type 1.
Right.
But a virus can cause an older adult to develop diabetes type 1 as well. But my conversation this evening is for diabetes type 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing that really concerns me, and I know your mind is all over the place thinking, what is it they have not learned from everybody else? And then here you've literally, in a sense, have saved your mother, by having her follow the proper steps that she needs to make in order to keep her from having to live with diabetes? What is it that people are not getting? And just at this point within your family, obviously we know that our whole community is engulfed with this problem, and especially in our minority communities. But what is it that you're feeling that they don't get or don't understand?
I think that we don't understand nutrition. That's one thing. Two, we don't understand that our medical staff have a responsibility to us. Three, we don't understand moderation. With nutrition, in schools that are in communities of color, there's not education about nutrition. Most of those students eat breakfast and lunch, and some may eat dinner all at school.
Right.
And during the summertime, they may have meals at their summer camps and whatnot, but what are we feeding our children? And our children are not getting enough activity because what do? We get the game system. They have the cell phone. They have the television and everything all inside of their bedrooms. So then our children become late in activity, and they become obese. There are a lot of children, I would say around the age of 10 and some younger, that have diabetes type 2 unnecessarily. With moderation, we will either work ourselves sick, we can drink ourselves sick, we can stress ourselves sick, but we never find that even balance of, I need to take some time to take care of me. Because if I can't take care of me, I can't take care of anyone else. And if this is a problem and it's creating stress in my body and it's creating stress in my mind, then it can and will make me sick. You can literally have a disease from unknown origin and it be from stress, and the doctors will be clueless. People have died from stress, and the doctors are clueless.
Yeah, and actually, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as we know, today stress is really the number one killer for most people, because that we're constantly living in a society where everything has to be immediate. Everything has to be done now. Everything has to be this certain way. And you're right. Nobody truly is taking the time to balance. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I hate the word balance. But at the end of the day, it is about balance. It's about making sure that you're not putting yourself so far over that threshold, whatever it is you're trying to reach, and you're not taking care of your health. Because you'll hear a lot of people say, well, I'm working, I got to do this and this and that. You still have to incorporate all those balances, all those things in there for, like you said, between the eating right, getting your exercise right, getting your rest right. It's all a part of that. And we're all guilty of it, because when you're on a mission, so to speak, you have a tendency to set that stuff aside thinking, and our biggest mistake is that we think about what we're going to be here tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last piece is the most important, is the piece about our doctors. Our primary care providers, whether you are seeing a holistic doctor, nurse practitioner, or a medical physician, that person is responsible for your care. Your pharmacist is also responsible for the medication that you take. So people inherently trust their physicians. I think the average time that a provider spends with a patient in a clinic setting, in the office, maybe 5 minutes to 10. Maybe 5 minutes to 10, because they do volume instead of actually trying to find out. You might see the technician or the nurse more than you actually see the physician. Right. So this doctor is looking at what the input was or whatever you have stated, but not really evaluating you, not really assessing you. And I'm not taking anything away from physicians. But what I'm saying is that you have this patient that is using their insurance from their job or Medicare, Medicaid, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting paid to care for this patient. The patient is really not getting cared for. The patient is getting a prescription and being told you're now a diabetic and you have to do this. Bam. What is that? Patients are not being explained their medications properly.
Right.
So with different diseases, you have different medications, which if those medications meet, may not benefit that patient. So
That's
then you
right.
have another problem.
That's right.
So it's a cycle, and people are used to saying, oh, my doctor said this, my doctor said that. But I can honestly tell you, last year, one of my clients, she told me her doctor fired her because she was working with me and I gave her accurate information.
Oh, wow.
So to give to her doctor. So when these people are getting these things, number one, is this what you want for yourself? Is this what you want for your mother? Is this what you want for your father? You don't even have to hear a word. You just have to look at their face. Look at their body language.
Right.
And you'll have your answer. Is that the doctor you should have? So with my business, it is my purpose to help us heal. I love to have Black female clients. I'm not even going to lie, because Black women have had so much placed upon them and they've worked through so many things and they are growing in abundance.
Right.
But sometimes we have to step back and say, hey, you know, I got this business. I have these children. I'm in school. I got this relationship. I have my friends, yada, yada, yada. But I'm not taking care of me. And that's when opportunistic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, sneak in. So we have to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the business. I would like to hear more, and I'm sure sharing with our listeners about your the education motivation that you do. And you have a program called 8 Facets of Life. What is this about? And I noticed that you kind of use the number 8 consistently throughout some of your other programs. So explain that a little bit more.
Okay. So the 8 Facets of Life I borrowed from Sancha. I called them. I made it official.
Okay.
I'm good about that. So the 8 Facets of Life basically states the things that we need to make us whole. So the 8 Facets of Life includes like our intellect. The 8 Facets of Life includes finances, our physical, our nutrition, occupational, emotional. So these things combined make us a whole person. You know, even social interaction is a part of that. So if there is a piece that is broken, then something else is going to lack as well. So when we're not whole, nothing is going to flow correctly or flow the way that we want it to flow. We're always going to be picking up the pieces. We're always going to try to make do or cover things up.
Right.
And it transitions from each phase of life, from each facet of life. It just transitions.
That is true. That is true. So I like how you utilize that tool into your actions, your programs, because you talk about mind mapping and motivational interviewing. So what is mind mapping? Because I'm sure there are some people who don't understand what mind mapping is and how you provide all 8 of those facets into the life. And I'm sure you provide that into your mind mapping. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
So Usually, when I start with a person, I give them a mind map because I want to know what do they really want with their health and what is hindering them from obtaining good health. So with the motivational questions and creating a mind map that is specific for them to answer, not only do I see, but they also see because they wrote it out, what the problem actually is, what they need to work on, and it helps us together build a plan for them to create their healthy.
And I like that because you're keeping them involved, and it's not just you saying, no, you need to do A, B, C, and D. You're allowing them to open their mindset and realize that this is not just me, it's about you, and you need to be able to say, this is what I need. And obviously, I'm sure you are on top of them saying, look, you need to make sure that you meet these goals per se in order to be successful and be healthy and have that balance that you need to have.
And I never felt like I would never take something away from somebody. So say if you eat steak 4 times a week, I'm not going to tell you to stop eating steak. What we're going to do is say, okay, so besides the steak, what else do you enjoy, or what do you think could replace it? So we may start out replacing one meal, not even every week, maybe it's every other week. So you can build up, so you can adapt. I always say I never want to take heroin away from a heroin addict because you don't want to kill a person. You don't want to kill their dream of obtaining their goal.
Right.
So
and that makes
it's
sense.
It's just a process.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense because, it's like, people who want to lose weight, they say, oh, I'm going to go cold turkey. That's fine. But then once you go cold turkey and then you think you've gotten to where you want to be, you're not looking at the full process of it. You're just trying to do something immediate. It may work, but usually probably more than 50% of the time, people end up coming back bigger. They're not, because they're not doing the right things consistently after that because they think they've already met their goal, and it's really not about meeting a goal. It's about a life change, a permanent life change.
Yeah.
All
Absolutely.
right. So I mean, I'm sitting here in my mind. There's other questions I want to have, but I'm going to save some of them because I know you are an author as well, and I'm going to put you on my other show for the author. Author, we'll talk about your book, the Broken Creates Wholeness. I love the title, but I really want to focus on that separately because I think there's so much more that we can dive into on that. But talk to me a little bit about your LPN Business Guide. What is that about?
So the LPN Business Guide, I had wrote that because I am an LPN. And the fact of it is that people think because you're LPN that you cannot do. But what they don't know is the history of nursing. So, and I take pride in doing a little bit of research. Before I became a nurse. So what they don't know is that LPNs can do just about anything that an RN, a registered nurse, can do. One, it depends on the hospital or facilities, policies, and procedures, and it also depends on the State Board of Nursing policy and procedure. But the first thing to know is that the first nurse was a prostitute. The first nurse was not a registered nurse. After the prostitute, we had the licensed professional nurse. So over time, as nursing, because nursing was not a sought after career, it was actually a nasty, dirty career choice. So that's how the prostitutes started, because of course during those times they would patch up the gentlemen that were fighting in the war during the day and take care of them at night. So after people saw, okay, there's something to this, we have the licensed professional nurse, so now we're going to start educating, and we have these schools here and there. And then a few years down the road, we moved to registered nursing.
Mm-hmm.
So as they call it, the nursing ladder.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nursing professional ladder, and you can go all the way to get your doctorate of nursing practice, or, anything. But you can be a doctor as a nurse and still practice. Or you could do like most nurses are, whether they are LPN or RN without the other degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and decided to create a business to sustain not only themselves, but their future generations.
Wow.
So there's two ways that you can go. And being an LPN, and thank God for experience that I've been given, I can still work in a hospital, a magnet hospital,
Mm-hmm.
on the floor as a nurse and not as a tech, which I still do. And I can educate and teach people about diabetes and other illnesses and still grow,
Mm-hmm.
without fearing that I have to go get my RN.
Right.
I have to get my badge. I have to do this. I have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many certifications that nurses can receive. Sometimes the certificate outweighs the degree.
Yes. I was just going to say that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a lot that's going on in a lot of the professions today, where they're utilizing certificates and saying, yeah, just go get that. And granted, you have to do it usually every 2 to 3 years. But I think it's ridiculous to think that all the years that you've gone to school for and got your full degree, that's not even equivalent almost anymore, depending on what the profession that you're in. So I think it's interesting how you've explained that process of what that as an LPN you can do just as much as you want and grow and continue to grow without feeling like you have to go through these next steps and levels of education in order to get there. But I was just sitting here thinking, wow, I've never heard the story that, prostitutes were the ones who actually became nurses first. So it's quite an eye-opening experience with you this evening about everything. And I can sit here probably another hour and have this conversation about health, because it is important. And you definitely opened my eyes, and I'm sure the listeners, about the understanding of diabetes and how it's, important that we all need to value ourselves, and that we all need to realize that we can question something when we don't understand, and stop having the attitude of, well, it is because it is. And I think that's the most important thing that I have definitely learned out of this conversation with you this evening. But before we go, I always ask the question when it comes to business. If someone was to talk to you, and I'm sure that you have had these questions because you do help women, teaching them the wellness and skills and about affordability, sustainability, and obtainability that I read off earlier. But if somebody's coming to talk to you about, I want to go into business, what advice or questions would you ask?
I'm going to ask them, what do they want to do? What is their passion? And where do they see their future generations at?
Mm-hmm.
My sole purpose for my business is my future generations. So if a person is committed to their bloodline and they're passionate with their purpose, they will tend to really do well. Nothing will get in their way. I mean, they may have obstacles, of course,
right. Mm-hmm.
but they are going to figure it out to make it happen.
I love that. Love that. I like the thing that I love that you just said was the most is about the future generations. I think a lot of times when I ask this question, I don't normally hear that response. And you're right, because our future generations are what we, have to look forward to, because we're definitely not going to be here forever. What are we going to be providing for them to continue to do better as our goal is in life is to have each generation be better than us, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, wow. Like I said, this has been an amazing night of education. I have been overly educated on this, and I'm excited about it because now I can share what I've learned, because I think it's important. I think it's important. And, most of us in our families, and especially as minorities, we all have somebody in our family who has diabetes. And, I don't think a lot of times it touches you until you do realize all the other things that come with it in the process. And so I do appreciate this conversation tonight. But before we go, could you please tell the listeners, Gwendolyn, how they can get a hold of you?
Okay. So I am accessible by email. My new email address is host@thenutritionistandnurse.com, or Facebook, Gwendolyn Woody, or The Nutritionist and Nurse, or Instagram, it would be The Nutritionist and Nurse. LinkedIn would be Gwendolyn Woody. My phone number is 443-885-0581.
All right. And they also, like she said, if you want to look on her website, you can also go to www.wellnesswork. That's with the WERK works, WERKS8.com. So I'll say that again, www.wellnessworks8.com, where you can find even more information about Gwendolyn. She has an amazing, beautiful website. So don't just look at how beautiful she is. Go ahead and look on there and also learn what she has to provide.
Thank you.
You're welcome, because it's a great website, and she has some wonderful programs as well. So please, if you need to learn something and don't understand what diabetes does to you, as you can see with our guest tonight, it has definitely hit Gwendolyn's family in a way that I can't even fathom or imagine. I'm sure some of y'all were thinking the same thing as we've been having this discussion this evening. It's unfortunate, but it's great that we have Gwendolyn out there fighting the great fight for everybody and trying to teach them the importance of what it means to be truly healthy. So again, if you have questions for Gwendolyn, you can reach out to her through her Facebook and all the other information that she provided, and also go on to her website. And Gwendolyn, do you have any last words for us this evening?
I do. So tonight on Facebook and Instagram, because everybody is talking about the coronavirus.
Yes.
And I am recognized by the CDC and a SAMS public health partner as well. So I just quickly wrote up a little ebook about nutrition, how we can eat to heal ourselves. And I'm only going to be charging $1 for it. So it's going to be on Facebook and Instagram later this evening.
Okay.
And I entitled it The Antiviral Diet. So, and these are things that you can do at home that are low cost.
Okay. Wow. And this is a treat, you guys. Great gold nuggets, great information. And if you did not understand or hear what Ms. Gwendolyn just said, she has another antiviral coronavirus book about eating healthy that she's going to be implementing this evening on Facebook, and you will be able to download that and get that for $1. So please go out and support, first of all, Gwendolyn, but also do something for yourself. So, we all can spend money when we want to. $1 is not a lot, but to be able to get some great information about what it means to eat healthy during this time of the coronavirus, it's very important that we all follow the leads of the CDC, and we have professionals like Gwendolyn that can help us through this process as well. So again, Gwendolyn, thank you so much. You have been a phenomenal guest, and your information tonight has just been, it's been somewhat overwhelming, but it's a joy to be able to know that we have, like I said, people out here like you who are helping us with this good fight and getting a better understanding of what healthiness is really all about. So again, thank you, and have a wonderful evening. And
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart. And for everyone else, I appreciate you all listening to our show tonight. We're here every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on iHeartRadio and Spotify. And, of course, we are on about 11 other platforms as well. So there's no reason why you can't listen into the show. If you missed this live show, go back and listen to the replay at any time. But until next Thursday, you have a good evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.